Welcome in, everybody. Region Football Tailgate getting you set for week number 9 of the high school football season. Can you believe it, Matt? Already the final week of the regular season, year of the 2025 year of the high school football season. Michael Brenner, Matt Skura alongside. I mean, it's the end. It's the end of the regular season. We have hit it.
Yeah, it goes by quick,
Yeah.
especially for those seniors. It's it's a bittersweet moment right now, last game of the year. Some schools it's their senior night, you get to enjoy all those festivities, but you're just getting your mindset straight this week, trying to get that last win of the season and roll into the playoffs on a good note.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it may not be your last game of the season because obviously there's sectionals to start. Next week could be your final home game, though, as a senior. So you never know when that season or when that last stance on that field is going to come to an end. But we got some good matchups on the slate tonight to end the regular season, as we always do. Let's start over in the NCC. Winner of this one pretty much wins the NCC Conference Championship. So that's a little redundant, NCC Conference. But
yeah,
you get what I'm trying to say there. Number 3, Andrean 59ers in our RSN poll, taking on the number 4 Lowell Red Devils. Again, winner takes the conference championship. Both teams 7-1 on the year, so undefeated in conference play. So we're going to find out at the Inferno.
Oh yeah, Lowell's offense is rolling right now. I mean, they're averaging 40 plus points a game. Coming into this, Timothy James has over 1,000 yards rushing. Kowinski has close to 1,000 yards passing. Their offense is just rolling here. Andrean, tough defense. They got a tough defense too. Their offense isn't as potent, but they do enough to win games.
And either one of these teams, obviously there are high marks, and every team wants to win that final game of the regular season. But you're also kind of fine tuning for next week. You're kind of thinking about next week a little bit. You want to worry about this week first, but next week is always definitely something in the back of your mind. Lowell will be taking on Hanover Central, and then the Andrean 59ers will have to wait to play the winner of Wheeler and Lake Station. So kind of a little bit of thought there, but definitely maybe a little bit more for Andrean to kind of, because they know they have to, they're off next week, so focus in more on this one. I mean, Lowell obviously is going to make sure that they want to win a conference title, so they're going to focus in on this week, and then they'll worry about next week. But it's still in the back of their minds, I would think, right?
Right, yeah, especially for Lowell, being down for the past few years, they want that conference championship. They're hungry for it, They've been thirsting down in Red Devil country for a winner, and it's looks like they're back and they got it, They get that conference championship this week, and then, sky's the limit. We were looking at that John Harrell stuff a little bit.
Yeah.
And, they're not predicted to win the sectionals, but it's, percentage points, mere tenths of a percentage point between them and Hobart to take the sectional. But they're favored to win, them and Hobart both are favored to win the regional. They're favored to win semi-state, possibly go to state. So
a lot of opportunities for sure. And Andrean's going to be thinking the same thing in Class 2A. They're thinking, a chance down to Indianapolis, and probably, it feels like just yesterday, but 9 weeks ago, we were saying that probably the team with one of the best chances to maybe make their way down to Indianapolis is going to be the Andrean 59ers. But like you said, this Lowell Red Devil team is might be standing in their way a little bit. We're going to see if we can hear the RDP chants all the way here at the Athletic Performance Factory. We're going to find out.
Yeah.
All right, moving down the line, you got the Bishop Knoll Warriors set to take on the Boone Grove Wolves. Boone Grove coming in 3-4 on the year. Bishop Knoll 2-6. Over at West Side, they're playing host to Justin Cole's Calumet Warriors, who are 5-3 on the year. This should always be a good one, an interesting one for both of these schools. And West Side's kind of looking to make some noise heading into the postseason, as they will have to play next week as well. They will be playing Kankakee Valley.
Yeah, Calumet Warriors are looking to get off a 2-game skid there, with a tough loss to Wheeler, and then just a memory wiper there against Griffith, so they had to move on from that. They can get a big win here against Westside at Westside, and then roll into the sectional play where they can make some noise too. They're on the right side of the bracket, They only have to go through one, Griffith or Knox. They don't have to go through both of them to get a sectional title. So, it's a good thing for them. They're in a good spot.
A couple of teams looking to make some noise in Class 5A is going to be Chesterton taking on the Maryville Pirates, two teams. One loss difference between these two teams. Chesterton kind of took it on the chin a little bit last week. I got to see them against the Crown Point Bulldogs. Yeah, it's typical fashion for the Crown Point Bulldogs to kind of roll through teams. But I thought that game was played a lot closer. I think Chesterton played a lot closer of a ball game than that score would indicate. They were doing things well. Obviously, Crown Point just is a behemoth of a team, and they're rolling through everybody. But I thought Chesterton, I still think that with their defense, this is a team that could make a little bit of noise, especially in that sectional 10.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I would have to say they're probably, if not the favorite, they're right up there, and this is a, possible regional preview here in this game,
Yeah.
I don't know how the brackets would play out, where they would play that game at, but, this is, one of Maryville's more potent offenses that they've had.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that their defense is suspect, but their defense has given up the most points on average per game since 2018.
Okay.
So, they're still a tough defense, but they're giving up more points. And again, I say that more points, they're giving up 17 points a game. It's still not a huge
Pretty
total,
good.
but that's the most they've given up in, 7-8 years.
And it is a matchup you will see right here on the Region Sports Network. We've got that call for you, so tune in to that one as well. Moving down the line, we got some more matchups in here that maybe we haven't really talked about over the course of the year, but they do have sectional implications, so we're including them. You got South Newton that's playing host to Frontier. South Newton, the Rebels, 3-5 on the year, playing host to Frontier, who is 8-0. So reason for that is because we're looking at Class 1A, Sectional 41. For South Newton, they'll get West Central next week. Might get a Bowman team potentially. So that's kind of why we're talking about them a little bit. But another game that you'll see right here on the Region Sports Network as well is the Griffith Panthers taking on the Wheeler Bearcats. I know our own Jay Simmons is on the call for that one. I know he's pretty amped up. He's pumped up, ready to go for his Griffith Panthers. And looks like that one might be kicking off or getting ready to go here pretty soon here. We are just getting ready for kickoff here not too long from now. But Griffith Panthers, something special going on over there. You know all about those Griffith Panthers.
Yeah, definitely. They got it rolling, and it's in the last few years with the quarterback there, he's a junior this year, Ryan Bullion, I think his last name is. They become more of a passing power than the traditional Griffith team. But again, everything's turned more towards that spread option, throw the ball a little bit, the RPO stuff. So, but it's Griffith's passing against Wheeler's defense, and then we'll see if Griffith's defense can shut down Wheeler's run. It's a revenge game for Griffith.
Yeah.
They lost at home to Wheeler last year, and I think that lost them the conference championship also. And this year it's for all the marbles.
And Wheeler obviously is undefeated on the year. They did miss one game, but undefeated. So we could be looking at two 7-1 teams. Could be looking at a 7-1 versus a 8-0. We don't know, but should be an interesting one. A lot of implications, conference championship opportunities on that one as well. Turning the page a little bit, you got the Hanover Central Wildcats, who are looking at that 4A sectional 17, kind of a gauntlet in there in sectional 17. But they play host tonight to the Hammond Central Wolves, who are still looking for that first win of the year. What better time than week number 9 to pick up your first week of the year?
Oh yeah, Hammond Central has been struggling a little bit on the offensive side of the ball, but there's nothing better than trying to get it going on a nice crisp Friday night in late in October.
It's finally starting to feel like fall weather. This feels like what we should have had like maybe week 3 or 4 of the year, but we're finally getting there. It's nice outside for sure. You got the Hobart Brickies, who are playing host to the Highland Trojans tonight, number 8 in our RSN poll of the Hobart Brickies. Again, they're both these two teams in that 4A sectional 17. I tell you, it's a gauntlet. There's a lot going on in that sectional 17. So two teams, opposite directions in terms of where they're at in terms of record-wise. So, again, these are kind of tune-up matches in a lot of ways. Yes, you've got conference titles on the line, but, tune-up matches as you're getting ready for sectionals.
Yeah, Hobart's looking to get 7-2 and roll into sectionals, and they got New Prairie in the first round, which is I think they won 2 games this year.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
Yep.
So New Prairie's struggling a little bit, but that'll be a revenge game for Hobart next week, which we'll talk about next week, obviously. But Highland, they just looking to. At this point, you want to win, but keep the game close. If you can keep the game close, where they're competitive and all that, and they have things to look forward to next week. They got East Chicago Central at East Chicago Central, I believe it is.
Yep.
So you're going up north,
Yep.
down the boulevard,
and even games like if you don't win the game, you can still run your stuff, and if it works, great. Then you got opportunities to put that on display against East Chicago, and then hopefully propel that as far as you possibly can run.
Yeah.
But you're working on your things to get yourself better as well. Also talking about Knox and Bowman, that is a final already. Actually, they played yesterday, so Knox with the 64-0 win over Bowman Academy. We mentioned them. They're going to play next week in that sectional 41 Class 1A. Another matchup you'll see right here on the Region Sports Network over in Valparaiso, a matchup of a couple of 2-6 teams, and we don't normally talk about that with a Valparaiso team too often, but 2-6 on the year. They will play host to the Lake Central Indians. So Lake Central drew a really tough matchup week 1 of the sectionals. It won't be next week. It'll be the week following. But they drew Crown Point, so kind of a tough matchup to open things up in sectionals. Whereas the Valparaiso Vikings in Class 5A, they drew Michigan City, another tough matchup as well.
Yeah, they're both. I mean, Valpo Michigan City played probably, getting close to the game of the year earlier in the season, and then Lake Central's been playing really well lately. They had a few miscues against Maryville. They were played tight.
Yeah,
Maryville just pulled away in the second half, and then when they played. Lake Central played Michigan City tough, and Michigan City rolled away with it. And then they had the 2 fumbles getting ready to score against Chesterton. So, it's a story of coulda, woulda, shouldas with Lake Central.
For Lake Central, it feels like up until like that, once that fourth quarter hits, that's kind of when, things kind of fall off the rails. It was like the Cubs in the playoffs. First inning, and then nothing much else after that. Lake Central, up until that fourth quarter, that's when the wheels came off. It just feels like.
Yeah, so you got a possibility. I'm not saying they would have beaten Maryville or maybe, beaten Michigan City, but, those maybe 2 more wins where you're looking at a 3-4 going into the last week of the season, or 4-4 or something like that going into the last week of the season as opposed to 2-6. So, they
different level of confidence
going
into this matchup.
You can frown upon their record, but they don't have anything to hang their heads on,
Yeah. All right, moving down the line, another matchup, our final one of the night that you will see right here on the Region Sports Network. We got Lake Station taking on the River Forest Ingots. Lake Station 6-2 on the year. They will battle in that 2A sectional 33, and then River Forest 3-5 on the year. They're going to be battling in 3A sectional number 25. Also in the Duneland Athletic Conference, we've got a good matchup here, Michigan City. This will be a good test for Michigan City in a lot of ways. Just to kind of see where are they really at, because we've seen a lot of strides and a lot of moves in positive directions for Michigan City this year, and a team that we thought, at the time when they were rolling and going up against, Maryville, we thought, hey, this is an upset kind of brewing here. This team's playing well. Can they limit their mistakes? Not saying they're going to beat Crown Point, but definitely have a good showing and kind of see where they're at in terms of where they may go in sectional 10.
Yeah, just a little side note here, Michigan City was the last team to beat Crown Point in the regular season.
That's right.
Back in 2021. But again, Michigan City looks really good, and then they fall off. They played LaPorte. LaPorte was winning 7-0 going into to the start of the fourth quarter, and they're struggling. If they do that against Crown Point, it's going to be a running clock.
Yeah.
You can't have that, but Michigan City has the weapons. They have the speed and the weapons where they can put points on the board any given play.
Yeah. And Crown Point likes to put the pressure on, so we know how this one is going to be an entertaining one. All right, Morton Governors, number 10 in the RSN poll. They are taking on the East Chicago Central Cardinals. Again, that Morton team, we're always a team that we're always a little bit questioning. Always there, always kind of in the mix, always a conversation, kind of hovering on that. They're number 10, number 9. Are they out? Are they a bubble team? I'm interested to see what they can do in Class 5A in that sectional number 9.
Yeah, I mean, if they can play, first things first, they should be able to put it to East Chicago this week. But, getting in the Maryville game, if they potential to upset Maryville, Morton defense is a little suspect, but their offense can play with the best of them.
Yeah,
and we always knock Morton, but and this is high school football. You play who's in front of you.
Right.
It's not like we're scheduling 15 years in advance to, this team was number 1, let's play them, and so on and so forth. Like we all want to talk about how high school teams should schedule like college schedules.
For years. That
They can't do that. You're locked in with conference. You got rivalry games. You got
Mhm.
this and that. But Morton's a different duck because they only have East Chicago and Hammond in their conference.
Correct.
And then they can go out and schedule who they want. They just have a tough time scheduling games later in the year.
Yeah, because once you get into conference play, it's tougher to get some of those
Right.
teams out of conference for sure. So a lot of times it's out of area teams, which could have a lot of success for your program. I mean, even if you get trucked by some of these out of school or out of state teams, it's only making you better, right? So if you're playing
definitely.
tough teams, it only makes you better. Know, hey, where can we get to? What level do we need to get to show, okay, we want to make a difference here in the region? Then people are going to want to schedule us because we're going to be the ones that they're going to want to knock
and
off.
if the kids understand that and get that even though we lost, we've gotten better, it only makes the program better. Sometimes you get these ones where they got blown out by somebody, and that team probably won their 7A state title in their state, and we all know that, but the kids don't understand that you're playing a team that's on a whole different level, and you want to get to that level, so you play that team to see what you need to do to get to that level.
100%. Moving down the line, the Munster Mustangs are taking on the Kankakee Valley Cougars. Munster will be competing in that sectional 9, like we were just talking about with the Morton Governors. KV in Class 4A sectional 17. They're in that gauntlet sectional over there. Another team to keep an eye on, the Penn Kingsmen, 8-0 on the year. They will be in that Class 6A sectional number 1. If you were to go with the odds makers in Vegas, that sectional championship very likely going to be Crown Point versus Penn. No guarantees. Upsets can happen. Very likely that's going to be the case. So this is going to be an interesting one for a sectional championship. Teams that very likely are going to meet up undefeated.
Yeah, South Bend's ranked number 8 in 4A, also undefeated.
Correct.
So it'll be a good test for Penn this week. Penn's been rolling a lot of teams, but it's always questioned with their schedule. I mean, they're a good team, but their schedule, they play all the South Bend schools, which are not known for their football prowess. And then, Elkhart, which has gotten better since they consolidated. And, New Prairie they play. That's part of their conference. New Prairie joined the conference. So they don't play a lot of teams with winning records, but that's, they're still putting it to them. They're not playing close games.
But that works out for a team like Penn when you think about that. As you get further down, if you are able to advance and you get further down the line, that becomes an issue. But for sectionals, I'm not saying Crown Point's in that same category, but they're very close to that same. Usually the Duneland Athletic Conference is a pretty daunting conference to deal with.
Typically, yes.
But at the same time, it's not the typical powerhouses that you would want to be facing. So, I mean, there are challenges week in, week out, but when you're rolling through the program like this, or running through a conference like this, it's almost kind of the same kind of situation Penn's in.
Right, yeah. I mean, we got one game to compare, the Valpo game. Penn played Valpo close, but that was week 1. Crown Point put it to Valpo.
Yeah.
A little bit later in the season. But I don't think Penn's played a team like Maryville.
Correct. Yeah. No, that's why I said they're almost there. It's almost similar.
You got those 2 or 3 teams. Penn plays Mishawaka. Mishawaka is always a powerhouse. But Mishawaka is also an option team. Yeah. So it's a different animal, but it's, you're still running into that quality opponent.
Plenty of time to get into the discussions with that one. A lot of debate can be had there. As we move down the line, you've got Pioneer taking on North Judson Saint Pierre, the Blue Jays, over from North Judson. Both teams 7-1 on the year, so this should be a good one. North Judson in that Class 1A sectional number 41. Back to the Duneland Athletic Conference, we got the LaPorte Slicers, who are playing host to the Portage Indians. Portage Indians 0-8 on the year. They drew Penn for that opener in sectional play, so a tough matchup for the Portage Indians. LaPorte, though, obviously 2 more wins than they had last year, so they're looking for win number 3 potentially, which will be significantly better than their previous season. So a lot to build on with that LaPorte team.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, their defense is a lot better. It doesn't show it on the scoreboard a lot, but they're playing teams tough. Yeah, Michigan City last week, they had Michigan City shut out for 3 quarters.
Yeah.
That's tough to do.
Yeah, it's the prowess of Michigan City, yes.
Yeah, they played Maryville tough early, and Maryville pulled away. They played Chesterton tough. Chesterton had a couple of turnovers that they got from LaPorte, and scoop score and all that stuff. So, Laporte's looking better.
Yeah, there's a lot to build on with that over the course of the next couple years, and I was really impressed when I got to see them in that matchup against Chesterton because they went down 12-0 early in that matchup against Chesterton, and then still battled back and still clawed and fought their way and made it a game still late in that one over in Chesterton, which is not an easy thing to do in Chesterton. We got South Bend, Washington taking on the New Prairie Cougars tonight. New Prairie in that sectional 17 as well. Both teams 2-6 coming into tonight. You've got North Newton, the Spartans at 4-4, taking on Tri-County. North Newton in that sectional 41 as well. And then one last one to mention for tonight. Both have implications when it comes to region teams. LaVille playing host to the Whiting Oilers, as Matt mentioned off the air. Quite a drive for the Whiting Oilers to get all the way to LaVille. But Whiting looking to kind of get off the schneid a little bit here. 2-6 on the year. LaVille 4-4. See what Whiting can do.
Yeah, it's city boys versus country boys out there, so we'll see how it goes. I know it's a long drive for Whiting. At least it's an hour and a half from here, so you figure
Right.
you probably add another 30 minutes coming from Whiting. And then you got the 80-94 traffic and all that fun stuff. So
who doesn't love that traffic?
Yeah. So
Only thing better is 65 traffic. It's good stuff.
Yep. So they got a long drive. A lot to think about on the way down there, and hopefully they can perform a little bit better than they have in the past few weeks.
All right, well, that'll wrap up things here for the Region Football Tailgate Show. We'll have plenty of coverage throughout the evening. We got 4 games here on the Region Sports Network. Let's run through those again real quick. Chesterton and Maryville, Griffith and Wheeler. We've also got Lake Central Valpo, and we've got Lake Station River Forest. You can tune into one of those games. I think we have the multi-cats going on this evening. And we'll have the RSN zone. So Matt and I will be back here in a little while with the RSN zone. So get out to one of those games, check things out, and we'll be back in a little bit. You've been watching Region Football Tailgate Show right here on the Region Sports Network, the only